Was there anyone in history who was considered a bad guy but was actually a good guy? Cleopatra. August's propaganda machine made people believe she was a manipulative whore. Something that many people believe even today, but in reality she was a great ruler who actually cared about her people and her empire. You could pick any number of civil rights campaigners who were considered bad by many people at the time, but who we now view as absolutely good and on the right side of history. Albert Göring. Mostly unknown, but he was the brother of Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring. After the war he was arrested first by the Americans and investigated. After they set him free. More about that later. He was subsequently arrested by the Czech Republic but also set free. After returning to Germany he couldn't find a job because of his name or when he was having hired. He was soon fired because of it. Albert, however, was an anti-Nazi. Most of the stories are unproven. But there's a story where he sent trucks to a concentration camp to get able bodies for the company. He was export VP in, only to have the trucks stop in the woods and let the camp inmates escape. While in U.S. custody his explanation of being against Hitler was considered whitewash by his first prosecutor. The successor believed him because his aunt was on a list of 34 families he had helped to escape the Third Reich, and she confirmed it when he called her Benedict Arnold, while he was technically a traitor. This was after he had been wounded numerous times fighting for the cause. Had other people take credit for his accomplishments in battle. Was a driving force in developing early America's military prowess. Had his own compatriots accuse him of being a sympathizer because of his social connections without any evidence. Lost his business license. And was basically shit on from an enormous height at every possible turn by his own politcal counterparts and the very people he was trying to help. The dude just got sick of being treated like human garbage. And dropped an arguably well-warranted Statue of Liberty-sized, "fuck you," that reverberated throughout the annals of history, cementing his legacy as the biggest turncoat since Judas. Yes. Edward Snowden. John Brown. Julian Assange. Overall is probably good. Nothing WikiLeaks has ever released has been found to be fake. Not a single page or even line in a page. He has helped expose a lot of corruption. Charles de Gaulle was far from a perfect man. But he had a lot of good qualities that he doesn't get a lot of credit for outside of France. I find it especially heartwarming how much he loved and doted on his kids. Especially his daughter with Down syndrome. When she passed away at age 20. He's quoted as saying, "Maintenant, elle est comme les autres." Now, she is like the others. He got on Churchill's nerves a lot. But he felt this was necessary to have a stake in the game. When Churchill asked him straight up why he was such a pain in the ass, he responded, "I am too poor to bow." He was so fervent because he knew he had nothing to work with. He couldn't compromise because he had nothing to compromise with. Oh. And his niece was a part of the French resistance and spent time in a concentration camp for it. Not really relevant, but I thought it was interesting. Well, isn't everybody the good guy in their own story? Depends whose eyes you're viewing it from. At one point, the UK and US thought Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. I know what someone's gonna say and I'm not gonna like it. Listening to the Real Dictators podcast about Hitler's rise to power, Neville Chamberlain comes across as better than initially thought. What many view as a failed appeasement policy. The podcast pointed out it gave the Allies 6 to 9 months to ramp up to prepare for war. It's probably a stretch. But had Chamberlain declared war after Hitler's first incursion into another county? Germany may have invaded Britain and actually taken it. Kim Il-sung. He single-handedly saved Korea from Western influence. Invented the hamburger. Mastered golf before turning one. Saved best Korea from starvation and from a capitalistic dictatorship. And has never sent anyone innocent to the labor camps. I mean what? Labor camps. Basically every democratically elected leader that has ever been replaced with a tyrant by a US-backed coup. Jeremy Corbyn. There are a lot. Especially if it is an area that was colonized. History is written by the victors. History is written by the winners, so we don't know who was a good or a bad guy. We never heard the other side, my friend. Satan. Bowser gets so much heat for simply being a dinosaur in the modern world. It's not his fault that he doesn't understand human decorum when it comes to women, while Peach is flaunting her ass to everyone in the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario has been trying to hit that for over 40 years and still hasn't. Trump, United States. A case could be made for Al Capone. He never committed any murders and used his fortune to run soup kitchens for the poor in Chicago. Among other things, he was viewed as a Robin Hood and loved by the less fortunate. Robin Hood.